I always felt like the endeavour of Kashin Koji to keep Boruto alive bore some resemblance to the plan of some other character. Well, I wasn't wrong, cause Momoshiki had also pledged to protect Boruto, but in his case, there was a personal agenda involved. However, the thing that makes Koji's pledge unique is that he wants Boruto to keep living, not for any personal motives, but solely for the sake of the shinobi world. Well, that's what it seems like. Today we will go over two massive possibilities to figure out the real motivations of Kashin Koji, which might not be that benevolent at all. The second theory discusses a clever retelling of Madara and Obito, where Koji would turn out to be the vessel of the mysterious missing of Sasuke. Shout out to the fearless and unstoppable warrior for dropping this theory under my last video. Well, I can use my own prescience to see that you will subscribe to this channel after completing this video, and there is nothing bad in doing that in advance, so make sure to click that sub button and let's begin. Imagine being bestowed with the power to see all the possible futures and then realizing your divine duty, a battle against fate, where your job is to lay the foundation of certain events that would eventually lead to a better outcome. Well, at least better than the darker ones that the power of prescience made you witness. So far, Kashin Koji seems like the well-wisher of the shinobi world who's working together with Boruto to avoid the worst outcome. But after this single incident from chapter 17, a small possibility has arisen, which made me rethink about the true plans of Kashin Koji. A conversation between him and Boruto started regarding the ongoing situation in the Sand Village. Boruto asked for the percentage of failure for the good guys, to which Koji replied very low. But this pisses off Boruto and he rebukes Koji, saying that he needs to know the exact figure. In response, Koji says that either way he's not going there, as his life is more precious than the others. Okay, so here it's now clear that Koji is definitely not concerned with anyone's death other than Boruto, and his reasons are kind of valid and simple too. But now the question that emerges here is that can this warning of Koji actually stop Boruto from helping his allies? The way Mitsuki found his pin in the desert likely means that he would return to protect them. However, that would put the whole world to an even greater risk, cause if Koji is not lying, then Jura would come to kill Boruto wherever he spots him. So even for the prodigy, it's better to let go of the emotions and have some trust in his fortune teller ally, cause the other option is the darker alternative anyway. Well, there are actually some good reasons for him to not interfere with Team 7 and the Shinjus, even though Boruto is loyal, but he is not blindly devoted to his friends like Naruto. He shows strategic mind, and since he is now the only one who can stop the divine trees and Otsutsuki, with Kawaki being the only other person holding the same potential, he must be well aware of his current position and importance to the world. So Boruto showing some trust in Koji's word and deciding to let his comrades play a risky game for the greater good is definitely a possibility. However, there is a chance that I believe would boil down the events to a point where Koji will have to send Boruto only if his chances of survival are higher in that specific scenario. Like if things went wrong on Konohamaru or Sarada's end in their plan of betraying the Shinjus, then Boruto might have to appear regardless of the risk involved. This could even turn out to be a disobedience to Koji if he doesn't allow him to go, but still Boruto would refrain from making any dumb or emotional moves that would hinder their plan. Think of it this way, Koji is all good with the plan of Shikamaru to betray the Shinjus. This means he must have informed Boruto about their plan as well, and looking at how he let all the things go with the flow, it seems like he's also okay with backstabbing the Shinjus. Maybe because that's the only way possible, and he's definitely not like Naruto, who would never take a part in such plan. But back in Konoha, a liability is being born, which can make everything go downhill for the shinobi world. Kawaki will soon have his limiters off, and Jura is present in Konoha, so there's a chance that the power would take over his head, making him make an absolutely stupid move. And when Kawaki would do something that would put his life on risk, Boruto will need to appear to help him out, not because of the so-called brotherhood, but due to the fact that him getting devoured means the end of the world. So in one way or another, Koji holding back his strongest chess piece will not work, cause all he sees with prescience are chances to win and not the absolute victory. Now this brings us back to the original question. Is Kashin Koji using Boruto for some malicious intent? Right now he holds the most power over everything and everyone, since he can see infinite possibilities for how things will go for a certain person or a certain place. So could it be that he's safekeeping an agenda where he would gain some sort of immense benefit? This thought popped in my mind from the fact that Koji is Jiraiya's clone, but not Jiraiya himself. Just like Delta was Akebi's clone and not Amado's daughter herself, you could see the difference in personality between her Kara and Konoha counterpart. A cyborg works on programming and can be turned off whenever the creator wants. Hypothetically, if Amado finds out about Koji's ability, he could shut him down in an instance just to program him again in a way where his obedience civilians would fully lie towards the scientist, and after that he could use his power of prescience to find the perfect plan to revive his daughter. But the point here is not the fate of Koji, rather it's his tendency to keep pushing towards an impossible goal. In most of the futures that he foresaw, Boruto gets killed and Kawaki gets fed to the Ten-Tails. And now in the present reality, he has done everything in his power to ensure an alternative outcome which would be objectively better. That's why he recruited the person who holds the most force on destiny and could actually move the fate of the world towards a better outcome. But there is one twist in Koji's persuasion of a better future. We already know how all of it is going to end. Konoha will be destroyed. Kawaki will form strong hatred for the shinobis and would become the apostle of destruction. Now here comes the interesting part. I think Koji already knew this possibility of Kawaki turning evil and then destroying the Leaf Village, but he still let that happen. The reason I think so is because he informed Boruto about his limiters and how Amado could activate his true form. Until and unless he asked Boruto to enlighten Kawaki about this, there is no way Boruto would have casually done this at his own, and assuming he must have seen the types of futures that would have emerged after Kawaki unlocks his limiters, there is no way he wouldn't be aware of this future where everything gets destroyed. So there could be only a few reasons for Koji to willingly let all of this happen. Number 1. They were able to deal with Jura and the others, but Kawaki turned out to be an even greater problem unexpectedly, so maybe it's not fully Koji's fault that all of this happened. Number 2. He knew that destruction was inevitable, but Jura meant the end of everything. Kawaki was just after the shinobi system, so he picked the greater good and made Kawaki go berserk, just so a team up with Boruto could finish the present threat. The aftermath of all of that, as shown in the flash forward, is something that he has left in the hands of Boruto, as he believed from the beginning that he would fix Kawaki. And finally, the most messed up possibility, which not just brings out the intentional side of Koji, but also gives an interesting angle to the tale of this character. Have you ever wondered where did Kawaki's hatred for shinobis come from? Like there is no one except him who has straight out said bad about this system throughout the story. Many think it would be the personal realization of Kawaki, and even the recent plan of Shikamaru, where he demands a merciless end to the Shinjus, also hints at what might have fueled Kawaki's desire to end the shinobi system. But there was one guy who said something to Kashin Koji, which I believe is the only description of the shinobis from any of the Boruto villains. Shinobi are nothing more than tools to be used. This statement was given by Jigen, and it's a reflection of his cynical view of shinobis. He sees them as expendable instruments rather than individuals with value or purpose beyond their usefulness in achieving the goals of others. While Koji doesn't show any remorse towards the shinobis, what if this line had stuck with him, which is why he didn't force the events in a way where the only possible outcome could be avoided. Think of it this way. Koji knew years earlier that the Shinjus are about to be born. That's how he formulated some strategies and plans which would turn the fate in a better way. First, he recruited Boruto and made him a singularity by giving him information on the futures. While I believe Boruto had already become a singularity in chapter 10 because of Momoshiki, Koji still made his move cause Boruto's weight on the spectrum of fate could help him to avoid the worst future. He then started teaching him techniques that he would have himself learn in the future. But by preponing those events, he turned Boruto into one of the strongest fighters in the world, and without him having to rely on the Karma Seal. Now take the case of the Code Assault. If Boruto had appeared there without Koji's involvement in his life, a possibility which definitely came true in some other timeline, there was a good chance for this to be a fair fight for Code. Not just that, the entry of Kawaki would have made it even harder for Boruto to escape, and the Shinjus would have just awakened without anyone's notice. So Code would have still been the major threat for a good amount of time, till the Shinjus would have made their mind to eradicate everything. In a nutshell, Koji's absence would have made it impossible to defeat the Shinjus. Kawaki would have acquired his new powers late. Boruto wouldn't be relevant till he had made some good progress, at least 6 years into the future, and Code would have haunted Konoha till the unexpected emergence of the Shinjus. Now here is where it gets interesting. The fact that Koji was able to secure the present timeline by working together with Boruto for around 2 years, there is no way he wouldn't have taken measures for a surprise blunder. He could have already formed a plan which would restrict Kawaki from misusing his newly acquired powers, like by peeking into one of the possible futures where Amado would use the shutdown code to turn off Kawaki, but surprisingly, he never did anything like that. So what if it's only because Koji himself accepts the description of shinobis that was given by Jigen? Tools, the instruments used by other people to achieve their own goals. Could it be that Koji is all okay with Kawaki turning into the destroyer of this system, and that might be why he assured this future would occur even though he had the power to prevent this? I really see this as an interesting possibility and would like to know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Now let's get to the second theory, which sounds more interesting and could even open doors to a brand new plot twist in the story. So in in my last video, I discussed two significant plot lines from Naruto that could take on a new life in the ongoing story of Two Blue Vortex. First, it was the Shibai cells being used like the Hashirama cells, and an individual like Madara appearing sometime in the future to absorb them in order to awaken some great power, just like how Madara awakened Rinnegan. The second retelling of a plot line was the Black Zetsu, who was the manifestation of Kaguya's will. And if you wanna know how this would play out in Two Blue Vortex, then make sure to check this video out later. Well, the comments caught my eye when I read someone talking about Kashin Koji and Boruto's story being a retelling of Madara and Obito's tale. The theory was so interesting that I couldn't resist but cover it and give my own spin to it. So here's how it goes. Basically, Kashin Koji is attributed as the second missing of Suzuki. Well, he's not literally the being who arrived on the planet with Shibai or Suzuki and for some reasons got his sigil destroyed. Rather, the missing of Suzuki could have been using him to manipulate the events in such a way where his resurrection would be possible. Right now, he's using Boruto to accomplish the goal, who's fully convinced that they are working to prevent the worst future. Well, what if the Shinjutsu that awakened inside of him is just a reflection of the missing of Suzuki, who has somehow successfully manipulated him in believing that the world needs to be saved, similar to how Black Zetsu manipulated Madara, who then recruited Obito in fulfilling his master plan. Something similar could be down the lane for Kashin Koji and Boruto. A Black Zetsu type figure could be involved in showing the visions of future to Kashin Koji, with his only goal being to reincarnate either himself or maybe the Suzuki that he's working for. Kashin Koji believes it was an after effect of Shibai cells which activated his Shinjutsu. But if you recall my last video, Daemon's powers are more similar to Hidan's secret techniques that originate from Jashin, and looking at how there is a possibility of him being modified with the remains of Jashin instead of Shibai, what if something similar is the case with Koji? He could have been modified with the cells of someone like Jashin or the second missing of Suzuki, who has now taken the subconscious control of his body and is now orchestrating the events towards his ultimate goal. Well, I feel like it won't be wrong to assume that both Amado and Kashin Koji are being used as puppets by some superior being. Remember, there was no mention of Amado or his daughter in the visions of Koji, and if he ever succeeds at achieving them, don't you find that odd? If Amado is actually the big bad who would reveal Akebi as his final trump card, don't you think Kashin Koji must have already seen that future? So why didn't he inform Boruto about what Amado was cooking and how Kawaki implanting a karma on someone could lead to the birth of a brand new villain? The answer is simply because he's himself a part of that plan. While Amado got manipulated by the memory rewash, which made him implant the missing of Suzuki's DNA into Kawaki's karma, Kashin Koji on the other hand has somehow forgotten about Amado's plans, cause that's what his mysterious controller wants. He wants both Amado and Koji to work towards a point where Kawaki would be forced to implant his karma on some being, which would bring out the final villain of the story. Let me know if you have some theories that I could add to this one if I ever bring a whole video on this topic. Also check out these videos for some more amazing takes. I will see you next time.